Well, I don't think you ever get back on track. I think it's a different track, but certainly I was well supported. So I guess life continues straight away. It's just a different life.
Very different life. How critical was that support you received in those very early days, those early months?
Look, it's imperative, and right from the very beginning to the headlines that people were reading, to the shame and blame that some articles sort of suggested lay at my feet versus those who sort of were more caring and understanding about the complexity that sits behind an event like this. So immediately the media was part of that support, along with family and friends.
And that's one of the issues we've got you on today to discuss, those new awards being opened today by Rosie Batty. Of course, her name etched on every Australian's brain after her experience. How have media issues, the media approach to domestic violence changed over the last 20 years, in your view, Anne?
Look, I think they've changed incredibly and in the right direction. It's fantastic. Early on in my situation, I would say, probably the majority of reporting lay accountability at institutions and systemic causes for the acts that happened, as opposed to with the offender and the gender inequality that sort of sat behind what happened. And people talked about individuals and were quite voyeuristic about, all the gory details. But I think when I did Australian Story 10 years later, and certainly subsequent articles we see about different people's experiences, because it's not just my experience or Rosie's, it's 1 in 6 women's experiences, we see far more complexity around the stereotypes and the role models that we need for healthy, healed societies and good relationships.
Very good point. And yet, and Rosie Batty has broached this subject in a very powerfully written op-ed today in the Herald Sun in Melbourne. Rosie Batty does make the point that sadly you still see references to the fact, or questions being posed, why didn't she leave? Why didn't she take the kids and run? She was wearing headphones. It was somehow her fault. Those attitudes, although you say they've changed, will take some time to be fully eradicated.
I think they will, and that's one of the great things about this award and why I'm so excited about it, because it encourages those journalists, who do that. It recommends and recognises their work by their peers, but I think also it's a very complex issue, because in the courts they're all the things that we sort of hear about in terms of legal justice. But I think these awards represent the opportunity for journalists to be a really big part of delivering social and moral justice, where they actually say, the people who commit these crimes choose to do them. It has nothing to do, what could anybody possibly do to deserve what any of these victims of domestic homicide experience? I think the real message is that domestic homicide is the end of a long history of domestic violence. It's the culmination of multiple and often years of abuse.
As you say, your life is now back on a rather different track. That track happily includes your new child, AJ. We showed you the picture of you with him before. How is he going, and how important has that been for you to become a parent again?
Look, I think there are no words for the a problem is an opportunity in drag, and I've had some great opportunities, and certainly this is one of the biggest, but I guess I'm very personal about those things. You can't express the joy that you have, but there is still a shadow, over one's heart at different times. So they never replace anything. So yeah, I guess that's a fantastic part of my life, but life itself for 20 years in between that was still fantastic and full of other wonderful opportunities.
OK, Anne O'Neill, thank you very much for taking us through what has been a very difficult chapter of your life, and we wish you all the best at those media awards today.
Thank you, and get in and nominate.
Yeah.